Hello, in this math video, I will do a GED math video regarding quadratic equation. Okay, so there's a lot we have to go over for or the notes for quadratic. So go ahead and get out your notebook, and we're gonna write out some key notes. Okay, so my first keynote states, when they asked for a solution, they really mean find the x-intercept. So sometimes they'll say factor, and sometimes they'll say find the solution, actual solution. Uh, you're really finding the x-intercept. It's one more extra step from factoring. Okay. Uh, if when factoring a quadratic equation, and when the a value is greater than one, you must use bottoms up factoring. So we'll talk about factoring more, but like if you look at the first example, 3x squared minus 5x plus 2, the a val what do we mean by a value? The coefficient of the highest power. So in this one, our a value is 3. So uh yeah, so when factoring, and then when a is greater than 1, you must use bottoms up factoring. Okay. So like for example, the one we just have, or an example would be like f of x equals. So if your quadratic is like this, y equals 3x squared minus 6x plus 10, like this. Uh, you got to use bottoms up factoring. I'll explain how to do it. But if you look at the supplementary video, there is a section called factoring, and more specifically, when the a value is greater than 1. If you want more examples on how to do bottoms up factoring, because we're only going to do 3 problems, but if you want more practice, go ahead and look at the supplementary video. Okay, I have a few more notes, but I got to pause because I'm going to run out of space. So, I mean, I got to clear because I'm running out of space, but if you need to pause the video to write these notes, go ahead because I'm going to write more notes. Okay, so the other thing is we have to go over, or what would be helpful is called the discriminant rule. And the discriminant rule is a quick way to determine how much real solutions or no solutions of a quadratic. So yeah, I really do like the discriminant rule. So the discriminant. So when I say real solutions, it literally means how much x-intercepts. How much? Okay, so let's briefly talk about the discriminant rule. So what is the discriminant rule? It is this: b squared minus 4ac. I'll explain what the b, the a, and the c means, but it's basically your coefficient. So yeah, so if it equals to zero, I believe you have one real solution or one x-intercept, right? One real x-intercept. If it greater than zero, you have two real solutions. If it's less than zero, you have none, right? No real solutions. Okay. So yeah, that's basically the discriminant rule. I'm gonna clear again. Go ahead and pause the video. So yeah, like I said, there are quite a few things we have to know about. Um, I'm gonna clear. If you need to pause, that's fine. The other one forgot to tell you about is the quadratic formula. You may or may not. So y- you could use this. You may not. You don't have to use this. So I don't like to use this. It's like the last resort, but it's basically another factoring method. It's another way to find your x-intercepts. So it is going to be x equals opposite of b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Okay. And then the last thing you need to know is when dealing with quadratic word problems, if they ask for a max or a minimum, what they are really asking is the x or y value of the vertex. Okay. So yeah, quadratic formula is just another way of finding your x-intercept. It's like the last resort. It's something you don't want to use, but if you have to, that's the formula. X equals opposite b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And when you're dealing with quadratic word problems, if they ask for max and minimum, what they're really asking is the x or y value of the vertex. Okay, let's move. Let's do our first question. So I'm going to clear. So question one says, which of the following shows a sum of solutions in the quadratic equation? So be careful what they're asking. Which of the following shows a sum of the solution of the quadratic equation. So they're asking two things. They want to find the solution. They don't want you to factor it. They want you to find the actual solution. And when you find the solution, add them up because it says sum. So there's, yeah, once you find your solutions, add those two solutions and you got your answer. So here we have 3x squared minus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Um, so first, when they say, I'm going to find the x-intercept, if any. So you have two options you could do to find the solutions. Uh, you can do the quadratic formula, or you can do bottoms up because the a value is 3. So yeah, after you find it, then okay. So yeah, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna do bottoms up. You could use quadratic formula if you want to, but I don't want to. So yeah, let me go over the steps with bottoms up. So we're gonna do bottom. Yes, we're gonna do bottoms up. So how do we do bottom up? The first thing you're gonna have to do is rewrite it as if the th a value or 3 value does not exist. So it will be expressed as x squared minus 5x. And then what you do is multiply 3 by the last term, right? A times c, which is 6, right? 3 times 2 is 6. And then I'm going to set that to 0 because I want to solve. And then from here on, you could just do regular simple factoring. So yeah, simple factoring. So you're going to put an x here and x there because when you FOIL it out, you're going to get x squared. And then when you multiply these, so this is the tricky part. Can you think of two numbers that multiply 6 and when added gives you -5? So it's a little bit of trial and error, but I believe it's going to be -6 and +1, right? Because -6 times +1 is -6, right? Whoops. No, that's false. I'm not going to use -6 and -1. I'm going to use -3 and -2. Because -3, -2 is +6, and -3 plus -2 is -5. So I'm going to use a -3 and a -2. Okay, because -3 times -2 is +6, and -3 plus -2 is -5. And then what you're going to do is remember the 3 here. You're going to divide the -3 by 3, divide the -2 by 3, and then this is going to give you -1. And then you you can't, so -2/3, try to reduce it as if you can. -2/3 can't be reduced. So what you do is you don't want it as a fraction. You put the 3 in front of the x. That's why they call it bottoms up. They put the 3 in front of the x and then leave the numerator alone. Okay. Now they want this is factoring. We want the actual solution. So what is my actual solution? It is going to be x equals +1 and x equals 2/3. So how did I do that? How did I get 1 and 2/3? Oh, what you're doing essentially is setting each parentheses to 0. And then I'm going to add one here. I get x equals 1. And then over here, I'm going to add 2. You get 3x equals to 2. Divide this by 3, you get x equals 2/3. Okay. Then what you're going to do is remember, we have to like add up our two x-intercepts. So we have 1 and 2/3. And 1 can be expressed as 3 by 3. So that would be 5/3. Okay, so that was a lot. I had to find the x-intercept by factoring, and I said I'm going to do bottoms up, or you could do quadratic. And then when you find it, I got x equals 1 2/3. You have to add them up. So if you need a refresher how to do bottoms up, or if you need to know how to do it from scratch again, go ahead and check out the supplementary video of this course on factoring. Yeah, I give plenty of examples. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question 2 says, which of the following is the correct statement about the quadratic equation 3x squared minus x plus 6 is equal to 0? So if you look at the choices, they're talking about solutions and discriminant. So what we're going to have to do is use the discriminant rule to figure out how many solutions or if we have any real solution, right? So what is my discriminant rule is this, b squared minus 4ac. So uh, so they say if it's equals to 0, you have one real solution. If it's greater than 0, you have two real. And then if it's less than 0, you have no real solution. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is do the b squared minus 4ac. So what's my a, b, and c? So my a is the coefficient of x squared, so that's 3. My b is the coefficient of 1, so that's -1. And my c is 6, the constant. So b squared, so it's going to be -1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, and c is 6. So -1 squared is 1, minus 4 times 3 is -12, times 6, that's -72. What is 1 minus 72? -71. Now, what rule does it apply? Does it apply the first one? No, it doesn't equal to 0. Is it greater than 0? No, -71 is not greater than 0. So is it less than 0? Yes. So that means we have no real solution. So that choice will be, I believe, is the last choice. D, the equation have no real solutions. Okay, last one. Last one is a word problem. So, okay. Question 3 says the ball is thrown upward with a quadratic equation s equals 20t minus 5t squared, where s represents the height in meters and t represents time in seconds. What is the maximum height the ball reaches? So when we're dealing with word problems, quadratic word problems, if they ever talk about maximum or minimum, we know we're dealing with vertex. Um, what do you, the question is, are we asking for the X or Y value of the vertex? So what is our X and our Y? So our X is, I believe if you read it carefully, it's our time. Yes, X is time, and then our Y value is height. So they're asking you what is the maximum height of the ball reaches. So we're talking about height and vertex. So they are asking for, they want us to find the y value of the vertex. Okay. So in order to find the y value of vertex, first you got to find the x value of the vertex. So find x value of vertex. So how do you find the x value of the vertex? It's this, x equals opposite of bu over 2a. And then once you have this value, put that back into this equation. So what is our equation? S equals, or S of t equals to 20t minus 5t squared. Let's put that in order. They're trying to trick you. Descending order. So negative 5t squared plus 20t. Okay, so what is our A, B, and C? So my A is negative 5 and my B is 20. So the opposite of B is negative 20. And then it's 2 times negative 5. So that's negative 20. And then 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And then two negatives becomes a positive. And then the zeros cancel, so you're left with 2. Okay, so my x value of the vertex is 2. And then you plug in this back into this equation to find the y value. So you're going to do s of 2. And wherever you see a t, plug in 2. So it's going to be this. And when you put it all together, you get 20 meters. Okay, so it's letter A. So right, so when we're dealing with max or minimum quadratic problems, it's basically the x or the y value of the vertex. Okay, oh, do you want me to check my work? Sure. Perfect. We got perfect scores, so I'm gonna stop here.